Thanks for responding and coming into the room. We'll keep this. Please carry on eating your food. We'll just run through our slides. And we have a link on the table here for you to go to because we're trying to make this as interactive as possible. I'll let Dr. Nshimyimana kick it off for us.
Hey, hi everyone. Good to be with you. I guess you're the only one who survived the food against education, so it's kind of, props to you. That's great. So today we are going to try to have a conversation with you. We are from Varuna, and Varuna strive to provide insights, visibility, and awareness for a water system to be able to understand what's going on across from source to tap. So Fabode is our founder, and he has been in the industry for over 18 years. Started on a power side. Maybe that's why Power like does today. Spent the time there, started a company there, and again, software based to help people choose what different marketplaces of where they can buy their power. And then now moved on the side of water to kind of use all of what he learned from that side on the side of water. And me, I did join Varuna a year ago because I think we aligned on how we think about what can help small to medium system. My background is more civil environmental engineering side, heavily on research side, technology development. Have had the chance to be in the craziness of the mix of MIT, Singapore as well too, where most of the water technologies are incubated. So, and again, also working for the state of Michigan for over 3 years, running a team of engineers doing drinking water investigations across nearly over 1,000 water systems, of which most of them were small water systems. So that's where we kind of intertwined and met and want to provide service to you. So today, we are going to discuss more about risk and resilience. And you may have heard of this many, many times, but this is a challenge to understand when we think of risk. Do we understand that, risk, I am only focusing on my assets, I want to know their age, or are my assets failing? Where am I, right? That's one component within your entire water system. Or you think of risk from source to tap, what's going on? Bird eye view. What am I focusing on today? How can I run my water system in a way that I understand the risk, but the way I reduce my risk helps me to achieve resilience? So when you think of the concept of risk and resilience, both of them are inherently integrated concepts. Most of the time now, because of some of our regulatory systems, we ask you to do risk and then you do resilience assessment, and then you think those two things are totally different. Then there is also all you need to do emergency preparedness and response on the other side. So it's kind of, silos of within a system on how we assess risk in itself. So that's why Rogan and others recently put out this paper in Nature on how to challenge people more to think about how these two are connected. And also to understand that as a water system, when you are able to understand what your risk is and every operations day to day, risk is not just something you assess and put on a book. It is happening every single day. When you receive a call from an operator that your water main just, realizes that it has been leaking. Which water main? It's a water main that it's 12 inches or nearly a feet. It's the biggest one in your entire water supply. It's affecting nearly 1 million people. So you understand that every single day you need to understand what that risk is. So what we are going to discuss is it's about a risk and resilience tool we have at Varuna that helps you to have that bird view and understand what is going in your system, but also be proactive on how you prepare about what's coming, and also learn about what happened to understand more on how you do those plans. When I was at the state of Michigan, worked with water systems that had what we call like chaotic, events, were completely shut off. It's either because they just realized that they had PFAS in a water source. They don't have redundancy. So they need to sit down in less than 2 days, figure out where else do we get water. And you need to be truthful to those people. Today we are bringing, National Guard with a bunch of bottled water for maybe nearly a week so that we can figure out where you get the next water supply. So that's what we're trying to make sure that our water systems are prepared and what we go against. So when you think about the resilience spectrum, this is some data from Texas, of course, because our company is based in Austin. We love Texas, right? So when you look at, when you think of the recent request on like emergency plan, when their legislature was asking the people who are in charge of water systems, how many water systems have like an emergency plan, right? Static, on paper, they need to update it every 5 years, only 30%. Then you start wondering, as a water system, where am I? Am I too fragile? Am I durable? Like, where do I stand? So next slide, please. So where we think you should be is that transparency that leads to resilience, to understand raw information flow, where you have that it's static, silos you have, but then where you should be robust, have fluidity, understand your risk, and then better prepare for your resilience. So now, most of the water system, you have experienced the chaos, right? Whether it's infrastructure related, flooding, whether it's increase in water pressure leading to burst pipes, whether it's contaminations leading to boil water advisories. Some reality you didn't know is that what we have now in the US about boil water advisories, the numbers we have are estimates. There is no any entity that tracks those numbers. Maybe EPA might start because also the state and state government on the top and the legislature have been asking the same questions because of the infrastructure bill. Maybe someone will track it. But it is like nearly many water systems having these issues because we see those boil water advisories every single day. But what does that mean also for how our infrastructure is and how it's edged? So whether you're from power utility, water, municipal.
Can you see the questions on Slido? Yeah, it's, I think I lost my connection here. So just give me a...
Is it so?
I think so, because that should update in real time. And I see this. Give me a second here. I see connection lost, reconnecting.
Sorry, there is like, I think the tech team gave us another...
They did.
Yeah. The tech team was already telling us, yeah, your Wi-Fi might be an issue. So, so yeah, just bear with us. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, sometimes like internet is hungry too. So I have to ask Jason why they did not give breakfast to the Wi-Fi. It's now, being stubborn around lunchtime. I know. Or it doesn't like power utilities. I don't know. Yeah, because you limit their power. Okay, so are we able to go back?
I think we're up now.
Yeah. Connection lost again.
Is it?
I'm in, but it says no rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His laptop has. Do you want to use your phone?
Yeah, it keeps throwing me off the Wi-Fi here.
Do you want to use your phone? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, show of hands.
I won't be able to catch the data though.
Yeah. Are you able to see it now? I don't. Okay, yeah. If you can, I will just say power utilities. You let me know. Those are from power.
Nothing yet.
Oh, wait, there it is, there it is. We got it.
I'm literally using my phone right now. Well, hey. That's,
Okay.
yeah, resilience. Exactly what that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it that's it? Like our others? Who say they are others? Like who are you? Huh? Who's this others? Come on. Yeah. David. Jason, eh? Next time I would put on Z Prime. Sorry, my bad. I should have remembered Z Prime would be in a mixed too. And they call themselves others. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
So we have a sense for who's in here.
Yeah, we have a sense. And, it's not surprising that we have only one utility, one water, one power.
That's all me, too.
Yeah.
All those in one municipality.
I know.
I checked all three of those boxes.
So maybe we should just have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
Like literally, we should.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll just go through this. In all seriousness, though, I think the thinking here, we might as well just make this a case study, frankly. How often would you say emergency planning happens? Because one thing I did this morning was check, and the PUC does require emergency planning for both power and water utilities. And then there's the AWIA 2018 emergency and resilience plans. So in your system, what is the, I guess, frequency?
Yeah, annually for sure. This year, we happened to do it twice. So,
Yeah.
But that wasn't a choice, so I think
TBD. And no, thank you. And what was the reason for doing it twice this year?
because we had Hurricane Barbara, I think it was Barbara headed, and
Yeah.
so I thought, gosh, this is a great opportunity to test it out.
Yeah.
Even though it was highly unlikely it was going to actually reach us in Burbank, but we went ahead and executed the our full bore internal to the utility EOC with a little connection to fire where we would
Yeah.
normally connect in. So we went ahead and just exercised for a day.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think the next question. So we showed the spectrum earlier, and I put the question up, and we were going to make sure this was anonymous in case the water utility would say, yeah, we're absolutely fragile, but would protect their anonymity. So we know you're prepared, which is great. Interestingly, though, we take this perspective, and I was talking to Peter earlier about the need to be a lot more prepared by running these emergency simulations more frequently. That is just the philosophy we have. Not you as the team, but using the technology that's available to run the simulations more frequently. And what that requires is just a lot more data than the industry has traditionally assessed. And I guess even the engineering firms can answer this one because it's a word cloud. Anybody in here can answer this one. I think we're just trying to get a sense for how people think about risk, and your responses, if it's still working, should show up as a word cloud. I see 2. I see 3. Thank you.
Yeah. Jason, do you do this? No? Z Prime, no idea.
We are starting to now.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, so something we have realized is that most of the time a water utility will tell you they have their own tool. And most of the time too, that tool only focuses on assets. It's either limited to assets only, and then they have another tool that is associated with demand, customers, purchase power, that's another department. Then they might have also another tool that looks into employment and cybersecurity, that's another department. So we always, the question is whether you will be actually able to have everything in one location. Can I be able to have a tool that brings together, aggregates all of that data, runs the analytics, and then you are able to look at one location to understand what your risk is, but also to be able to go through and understand what are your main contributors, so that that feeds back into how you do the planning.
So I know we had a short conversation earlier, and if you don't mind, just sharing with the folk in here a bit more context around asset condition.
Sure. So Dawn Roth-Lindell from Burbank Water and Power. And just on the water side, asset condition is key for us. We have 276 miles of pipe that run under the city of Burbank, the media capital of the world. And 176 miles of that pipe are going to be over 100 years old in 20 years. Now, we replace 1 mile of pipe a year. So it doesn't take much skill in math to recognize that if we continue at that pace of replacement, we are going to find ourselves with 276-year-old pipe. That is probably not a great position to be in. And so we also know that replacing pipe is extremely expensive. And we want to only do that when we absolutely need to do that. We want to identify the right miles to replace in any given year. So we use 4 technologies that help us with that. We use an artificial intelligence tool that enables us to identify risk and risk through identifying likelihood and impact if we were to lose a line. We combine that with 2 leak technologies. One is ground penetrating satellite that enables us to see if we have the beginning of a leak, combined with sensors that we put on our fire hydrant system throughout the system that enables us to identify pressure changes that could indicate a leak. And then finally, we use an acoustic wave technology that enables us to assess the thickness of pipe, the thickness of the walls, so that we can see when they're starting to thin too much and become a big risk. So, we use a fair amount of technology combined with NOAA, and sorry, spell check changed it to NOAA with an H instead of NOAA. I'm like, no, I typed what I meant. But anyway, we use NOAA data and information from our water suppliers, et cetera. So we pull in info from a lot of places to help us make that assessment.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deanna Hardwick, CPS Energy. I think when I think about the pandemic, I think about Winter Storm Uri, then these high fuel prices that we've seen. I think our highest risk priority is that our imaginations aren't big enough to figure out what the next big hit is going to be. And so you've got to plan and you've got to be prepared. But if you just plan for one component of it, there's a chance you're going to miss the bigger piece. So I think when I just think about from a Winter Storm Uri perspective, we did everything we needed to ensure that we were ready if another event that happened in 2011 happened again. But we didn't spend time, or we couldn't wrap our brains around the fact that something even bigger could happen, right? As a global entity, right? We just think about the pandemic, right? We went through H1N1, we went through SARS and Ebola, and we still could not fathom what we experienced during the pandemic. And then if we think about how do we think about what truly is the worst case scenarios, and then ensure that we're planning across for whatever that is, and how not just one event needs a plan, but how we need to be a plan for flexibility.
It's almost I'll skip this next question because you sort of, and I could come back to it because you lead into our next slide. Just this recognition, and Jean-Pierre, you can talk about this slide a little bit, but that you need more sources of information feeding into whatever that eventual plan becomes. Some of them streaming information in real time, some historic data so you can start to predict possible risks. But I can dive in here.
Yeah, so what we do, what we came up at Varuna is to take data, aggregate data from different sources. And once we have all of that data, it is classified under three main clusters. What we call internal. Internal are most of the risk factors that are related to your day-to-day operations, like it's your assets, it's your chemical material, if you have treatment plants, it's your work orders, which can tell us more the history of actually what you are doing day to day. It is your water quality, water main breaks, it's a water loss, forms you have to complete. So then when we go on external, it's a natural disasters. Natural disasters has like three main components that includes tectonic movement, includes flooding, as they were talking about, includes fires, includes droughts. As you know, droughts are ongoing now. Then we also go even beyond water source because, as I said, our approach is source to tap. So water source is then included. We have also legal litigations. If you are Jackson, Mississippi, you understand what legal litigations means. If you are Flint, Michigan, you will understand. If you are Benton Harbor, you will. So all of those are the different locations. Yes. So legal litigations. When you have an emergency, like lead pipes in your lead pipes, like what happened. Let's say the emergency of what happened in the city of Flint, right? They changed source water, new source water, totally different chemistry. It removed the layers that protected pipes. Now, water with the troubled chemistry interacted with the pipes and increased the levels of heavy metals in the water. And that exposed more people on heavy metals, especially kids, and affects brains and all of that. So that the emergency you have as a water utility, you need to figure out what should be the other source, right? First. Second, what can I remove all of the lead service lines? But then the community start asking, why did you do that? That's the litigations. Then it is also the compliance from the government perspective. Compliance you have skipped. There are many, as you know, people might have gone through this. You receive many letters, compliance from US EPA. So there are all of these processes in a place that you have to answer to. So that's why we take that litigation also in account. Because we know if, for example, you have had violations for the last 5 years and you have received EPA letters of complaint for you have not been able to address, we want to make sure that you're taking that into considerations because it's there with you. Those who have like issues with chlorine byproducts, because I know many different water deals with that too because of chemistry again. So then we go through also again, customer composition. Most of when you think of risk, sometimes you might forget customer composition. If you might doubt, you might know the history of the city of Detroit. When customers start leaving, and because our model is that we collect funds to do maintenance, provide services, if those customers are not there, what's going on? If your customers are expanding, are you spending more attention into commercial versus residential, when residential is your most customers? So we want you to take all of those considerations on how your capital improvement and dollars are also, again, distributed as well. So the other vectors we have on the system include that population you serve as well, include waterborne diseases, historical data you might have on the side of water quality. USGS has also amount of historical data. Let's say if you tell me your water source is surface water, maybe I will, before I talk to you, I will check if USGS did not have a station only on the same stream you are, extracting water from for the last 20 years. That would tell me more about your water source, as a surface water source. If it's groundwater, there are predictions USGS does on aquifers, and how the aquifers are being used. But most of those information is not normally brought up front to you to understand how it can benefit you as you do different planning. Then as we go down the list, there is also climate change and all of that. So we take all of that data, look at like likelihood of failure, threats, vulnerability, consequences. We then also look at the risk, change in intensity, frequency, time frame, and we add on a component of environmental justice. And all of that, the output gives you a risk ranking for your water system. And that's how, if you are able to manage most of the risk component and be on a lower risk scale, we believe you will be on a path to resilience, because resilience is your ability to understand the risk you have, to be ahead of it, and to ensure that you're still providing clean drinking water to the community you serve. So this is, if you do of course, if you like simulations, because I did many simulations on a tour to understand how many water systems, for example, can we have in a system. And that's the number of how many scenarios we are able to have in a tour itself. Because it's not only in the US and even others, but also to understand that the robustness of the data and what we would like to help people put together and understand having one location to ensure that that also was accounted.
I'll make a point here, because whenever we've thrown up this slide, some of the responses we get from the utilities are, I'm not about to get all this data myself. It's like the first thing, and that is a critical part of the work we do. We've written scripts that essentially pull data for all these vectors and populate your profile. And what we do with the water systems is sit with your team to pull the internal data. If in your case, you've done a lot of work with other vendors, and consequently, there's a data lake somewhere that if we get access to the API keys provided by you for working with you, it makes it less, you get more visibility without having to dump resources that are currently busy doing other things. And we always point out, as much as possible, this isn't to intimidate, it is to inform, because we're taking on a lot of the work. We have technology that allows us to take handwritten notes, work orders with handwritten notes, because that factors in to, if your last 20 work orders have been focused on an asset in a certain part of the city, the frequency has increased of the problems, and you probably need to start considering it as a higher risk. So things of that nature we can help you pull out without getting your technicians sitting with us for hours at a time to give us the information. And I wanted to point that out. It's increased visibility with less work, almost an analyst that a software that is an analyst for you, essentially. Is, I know we're about 10 minutes here, but Jean-Pierre, I think I have one more question that I think only 2 participants can share their answers, and you can just shout it out if you,
Sure.
yeah.
Every single person.
Yeah.
Single,
Yeah.
we don't do it in a silo.
Yeah. So if everyone is involved, yes.
So we do at least one annual tabletop, and it's beyond this. It's not just our utility. We have to do that in terms of the rest of the city as well. So we do it with police and fire and the school district and hospitals, et cetera. So we do it citywide because it's not enough for just our utility to be able to respond. We're always responding in context of the rest of the emergency response people.
Yeah.
Same with you, I can imagine.
Yeah, we do everything like the GridX exercise globally, but for that we bring in military, we bring in customers. So, we get everybody at the table. We go to our emergency operations centers, and we participate in just about every tabletop exercise that we possibly can, whether it's customer driven, but we make sure that we are at the table, and that if there's someone we see missing, that we find a way to bring them along.
One sort of follow-up question, and to both of you, where is the information gathered during those meetings, where is it kept?
So for us, we use a business continuity platform. I don't know the name of it is, but from how that ties in with our risk, I think that's a challenge in making sure that we've captured what we've learned during those exercises. Sometimes it's exercises, sometimes it's real events, and we go back through when we update our plans and we figure out how to integrate it in. But I don't think we have a direct tie.
The same.
Yeah, you just help make the point. And that, I think it's that, as the slide earlier that Jean-Pierre was talking about, the flow of information between all the entities involved in resilience, risk planning, in risk and emergency planning, the flow of information is actually what makes you resilient, because the speed and flow of information. And we try to bake that into the output, a shared output for all stakeholders through our platform. Jean-Pierre, do you have any comments about this?
So something else to add on is that most of these plans, yes, a well-organized water system, they have a tool. Most of the other water system is just like printed copies that are in a folder somewhere in a binder of the public works department. And when you call them, it's midnight, they will tell you, I have to go to office first. This literally happened when we had an issue with the city of Parchment in Michigan. They had to go to the office, figure out where the fire is, call everyone, meeting, because we had to figure out what would be the water source in the following 2 days.
So the point of the tool, beyond just a source of truth across the entities involved in planning for emergencies and resilience building, is this adaptive document that is based on the true state of your water system. I think I was sharing with you earlier, we had a customer in somewhere in Texas where they'd forgotten that they loaned one of their backup generators to the small town next to them. And during the storm, they're in Texas, during the storm, the emergency plan, the PDF, reflected a backup generator, but the true state was that they didn't have it. And just being able to update a tool that everybody who pulls it up then recognizes this is our current state allows us to, I won't touch on this. I think, Jean-Pierre, any final comments? Because I can imagine we have about 6 minutes and folk might need to use the bathroom before the next session. So
the final comment is that we have a risk and we have a resilience dashboard that helps you to pull out all of that data we talked about in one location and helps you to make sense of it. What you need to do is 1/3. We at Varuna, we do 2/3 of what needs to be done. Something, let's say, like an example of one of the water utilities we work with, because I had to call them and ask them, hey, what's going on in your water supply? They were like, what do you mean? I said, CDC waterborne diseases, it shows me there is an uptake of nearly 40% in your area. And the report, this is the report of this week. They just uploaded it. He was like, what do you mean? And he needs to call back public health department and told him, there are cases of Legionella. But him, in a loop of when he gets informed, I get data before he gets informed, because CDC has another disease surveillance and they are supposed to provide those updates. But when they loop back and they tell all of these people who are involved that one of your customers, which might be a hospital or a big office building, is being affected, it would be like a week. But that's some of the information you need to know because it's part of your system. Because once the issue becomes that maybe it's your water chemistry that it's causing the overgrowth of biofilms that led to Legionella growth, now it's on your table 100%. Because it's linked to whether it's your water chemistry, what the main issue is. And we kind of get to see those different informations that is left behind. And what we did when we developed this tool was to learn about most of the emergencies that have been happening in the United States. What are we missing? What can we do to make sure that small water systems or even those water systems that are advanced, they have that information up front. And I have mentioned the different work I did in the state of Michigan and emergencies I was involved in. I mean, it was just like, eye-opening to see. I don't know how if many of you ever get a call. If you have, let's say, surface water, you might have heard of this. When they call you and tell you your operator at the treatment plant, forgot to add on a coagulant for the last 4 hours. And when they tell you, it has been like a day and a half, right? So if you know your residential time, you understand that water is somewhere in the distribution system. Now, you know that your source water has high levels of Giardia, high levels of those protozoa that your filtration system did not have a chance to remove. You did not coagulate them. Now it's a chess. You need to figure out where are they in the distribution system. That's just a simple start. But then after that, you receive another call that a daycare, all the kids, 40 who stay there, they have diarrhea. Now it's like, it's adenovirus. Is it like these are the source because of the so we get to see all of these emergencies that happens because there is an information gap somewhere, and that reduces the ability of an operator or anyone in the management to actually know what's going on, to be able to stay ahead of the events and understand how to intervene, how to help the community. And that's how we developed these tools and other tools we have now. We do develop at Varuna. They are inspired and also informed by real event on how we believe that moving forward, those should not be the case of things we deal with in the United States. That we have enough technology to actually solve them. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for spending your lunch with us. You had other places to be, but you chose us, so thank you.